friends of animation, everybody, full house today. It's fantastic, the second day of Agora, the 9th edition already, 16 years of ANIMASYROS Festival. Old friends, newcomers, welcome to the second day. We are thrilled because today we have a fantastic program. We will start with these amazing guys here, João and Bruno. I say João and Bruno because João and Bruno have been in ANIMASYROS how many years? Twice. We feel very proud. We are very avant-garde. We knew that they go for the Oscars. We were sure. So, and of course, Agnė Adomėnė, who will moderate this fantastic panel. Agnė is producer, and she's going to help us and see where they started, what is this fantastic journey from Portugal to LA and the Oscars. So this is our first panel. Then we go on with women in animated documentaries, and we'll finish with the usual in conversation with Vivian van Vletteren and Nancy Denny Phelps. So stay with us. Hello, Vivian. Welcome. Enjoy. And we have the honor and the pleasure to have with us Mr. Carvalho from the Embassy of Portugal in Athens. Thank you for being with us. And thank you all. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. I have this great pleasure today to introduce you the film that, in my personal opinion, doesn't really need any introduction, because in past 15, 16 months, it was everywhere, literally everywhere. And yes, so we have today Ice Merchants and the director and the producer. And this film started his journey in Cannes Film Festival last year with the award at Cannes Film Festival, and then, you know, almost all major festivals, like Toronto Film Festival, Guadalajara, Melbourne, Clermont-Ferrand, and many, many other really high-profile film festivals around the world. Many awards, included Annie Award, yes, European Film Award nomination, and of course, as a cherry on top of the pie, Oscar nomination. So where do we start? Let's start maybe from the very beginning, and you know, how did it start? I mean, what was the inspiration? I read in one of your interview that image is something that starts first, and then you write a script around the image. So which image was the first image of Ice Merchant?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. So Ice Merchants, coming from the beginning, started as my graduation film from Royal College of Art. I kept working on it after graduating. But in terms of concept, it follows the same logic that I used for my previous films, where it normally always starts with an image that comes from my subconscious. In this case, it was that image of a tiny house attached to a tall cliff. And when I have one of those images that I know that for some reason resonates with me, and I start to establish that reality, I start to compose a soundtrack that for me is reminiscent of that scenario, and going back and forth between music, drawings. Music gives me idea for drawings, the drawings give me idea for music. And so hopefully a concept cohesive, I hope, will start to grow. But in my process, I normally know where the film is going to take place from the beginning. I know roughly what emotions I want to explore in the film I'm going to make. I remember that Ice Merchants, from the beginning, was I wanted to explore the feeling of loss and eventually family connection and everything, but I didn't know exactly how the film was going to solve. But the more that I lived in the film's reality that doesn't exist, only exists in this metaphysical world that we are able to create in animation, the more concise ideas I had for the narrative.
And for me personally, it's also very interesting about music that you write music yourself, because there are so many artistic short films that are created by one person. It means that one person writes script, directs, creates the visual, but you also create the music. You didn't leave any space for for other creators. Can you talk a bit more how the process goes with music, and when the music comes, when the idea of music comes? Is it together with the image or later?
Before that, very roughly, I had a weird path through my artistic path because I actually started studying sciences when I was in high school, and my main goal, at that time, was to finish sciences and apply to engineering school. But I failed my math exam that was going to put me into engineering school, so I luckily went to my second option, which was multimedia arts. And it was in that time that I realized that I really like animation. It was also that time that I restarted to play music, because I started very young to play the piano when I was 4. But when I was 12, 13, like it happens with many kids, I stopped playing. I wanted to do sports at that time. But when I got into my multimedia arts BA, I got in contact with animation, visual arts, but also reconnected with music. So actually, after finishing my BA, while I was finishing it, my main goal was actually to finish multimedia arts and just pursue piano independently. But I had to do a final project, which was The Voyager. It was an animation short film in which I had my first experience composing for film. And I also obligated myself to, every time the film was being screened at a festival, I would propose to the festival director for me to play live piano. And that initially was a way of challenging me to play live, because I've been away from the stages a long time, and that way I would be forced to go on stage. But at the end I realized that I really liked the animation and filmmaking part. So I just realized that I could combine both, and that's what I like to do. But for me, music is fulcral in the starting point of the film. I think I wouldn't be able to create a cohesive concept if I didn't have the music support, because it's something that starts from the very beginning. So sometimes I even start composing soundtrack before doing visual tests, because I think it happens with a lot of people when you're listening to music, for example, on the streets, and you're into a specific thing, and then that gives you ideas. It feels like you're in a video clip or something. So music generates visuals and really works your imagination. For example, I'm now working on a new film, where the synopsis is still very loose, but I already started to compose soundtrack, and whenever I go for a walk, even here in Sirius, when I go to the beach, I'm listening to the soundtrack on loop, and that naturally starts to give me ideas for the film. So music for me starts from the very beginning, at the same time as visual, sometimes even before.
Let's talk about Oscars a bit. So Ice Merchants is the first Portuguese film ever got nomination for Oscars. Not only animation, but also in all categories. So it's a big joy, big achievement for the film, but I guess it's also a big responsibility, a big pressure for you as a filmmaker. How did it feel? How did it feel in Portugal? Yeah.
As everybody here can relate, in order to get a film going, you need to get the film funded. And animation struggles a lot with this. It's been something that throughout the decades, even though we've had amazing directors, people that did films that are very iconic, it's always a struggle. So right now, as animators, as people in the animation industry in Portugal, we feel like this is something that we can use in order to change a bit the position of animation in Portugal. And luckily, if we were already proud of all the achievements that the people that came before us did, and they helped a lot, to be able to help in this regard and further fight for these rights, it's something that we're finding very interesting, and we feel proud to be able to help out in any ways possible. But this last year and a half, like you were saying, was very, very strange. And not only was this the first ever film in Portugal to be nominated, but we did it on the year that animation in Portugal had its 100th birthday. So it's more reason to celebrate.
And you mentioned previously that your distributor made this very unique, maybe not that common activity. They distributed in theaters. Short film separately. I mean, not in a program, but it was just your film in a cinema theater repertoire. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually even weirder because we have an amazing distributor that's been working with us since the beginning. Actually, the first layouts of the distribution were actually made by João. He was the one that started doing his Excel sheet where he investigated all the festivals in the world. He divided them by countries, which ones were worldwide premieres, which one were national premieres, which ones were Oscar qualifying. So when we got the distributors, João had already done an amazing job that now we use for almost every films that we have. So we thank always João for this. But in that particular aspect, to go in theaters, we actually had a distributor, not an animation distributor, one of those distributors that work with Warner and the big American companies that they actually purchased the rights for Ice Merchants for Portuguese language countries. And we've been working with them alongside the Agência de Curta-Metragem, and they're thinking completely outside the box. So Ice Merchants was actually the first short film to have a national premiere in theaters as a short film by itself. People would pay like €2, €3 just to go watch the film in the theaters. And it's, last time I checked, we were the third Portuguese film that was seen the most in theaters this year, which is, we're quite happy about it. And it brought something that we never thought it would be possible, to have people, and I don't, people here in this room are from various different countries, but in Portugal, we don't have many people interested in animation in general, and particularly in short film format. So to see families on Sunday going to a theater to watch a short animated film, and that alone was something very interesting. And we would get amazing tags on stories on Instagram of people with 3-4 kids, various couples, and it was for a few months it was awesome. It was a lot of love shown. It was quite the experience. We're very, very grateful, as you can imagine.
Great. And what is your personal experience of the Oscar run in general? Can you share a bit, how was it? Was it really just, a joy all the time, or was it, tiring and experience? Just, what your impressions, what did you find most difficult maybe? What was most interesting or surprising? So both of you, could you?
For me, I think it was a bit of both. I think it was surreal in a very good way. It was also tiring because we were working on the film's promotion by ourselves in a way, Benoit, but we were producing the materials of ads and everything that we were using. For me, it was a very good experience. I think it was a better experience than I was predicting. I was afraid that we would arrive there and we would be like in the kids' table, there would be like clear hierarchies. But I found out that it's at least easier. For nominations, I feel like if you're a nominee, they will treat you all the same. There's a very special event that not many people know about it, but 1 month before the Oscar ceremony, there's an Oscar luncheon, which is a lunch dinner with all the nominees. And they gamble.
It's like they take it out of the hat, whoever sits on the table. You never know what you're going to get on the table.
And everyone that I met was incredibly approaching. I sat in the same table as Malala, and you sat with a.
I had the Pinocchio team from Shadow Machine on one side, and I had the VFX team from Avatar on the other side. And then on the opposite side of me in the table, it was that promoter from the US that I'm not going to say who said it, but they told me, you see that lady there? And I was like, yes, looks like somebody, mother of a friend of mine, very simple lady, not talking with no one. Yeah, she makes and breaks films. If she doesn't like you, your film is not going anywhere. And I was like, oh, she's sitting on my table. I will be quiet.
But yeah, overall, I think both of us have an extremely pleasant experience, much more personal than I was expecting. And yeah, again, everyone that we met people that, in my head, they were not even real. You know, you just saw them on screen, but they are real and they are extremely nice people. And but yeah, I spent 1 month in LA. 5 weeks, because we had the Oscar luncheon, and then we had the Annie Awards in the middle, and then we had the Oscars ceremony. So I decided to stay for the full duration, and so we were working. Like, there were days that we basically weren't able to enjoy LA City because we were working. But at the end, we only have very good memories of these, I think.
So funny enough, this film we got first place in the submission of 2020 for short films in Portugal as first primeira obra, first works. You're entitled to go twice to that, and it was the first time João was going to go for that because he had 2 previous films, but they were both student films. And João got in first place. We got back then 90,000 euros, which is amazing. We knew we could do wonders with that money. We had already a proof of concept, so we did a really good pitch deck, good texts that João wrote. We did a nice little storyboard. That was, I would say, about 70–80% of what the film was actually like. We changed a few things. And the proof of concept, I believe, made a big difference. João had animated about 1 minute, around 1 minute. And then Ala Nunu, which is the person that's missing here. Ala Nunu was the second animator. She animated about half the film, and which one we had 2 animators for the whole 14 minutes. She did the first sequence when he dives for the first time. I don't know, no spoilers, it's just the beginning of the film. And we didn't color or anything, it was just rough animated. And we think that made a big difference when we applied. Later on, I managed to run into a jury, and he said the way you pitched made a whole lot of difference because you gave so much more than all the rest that the film was really well evaluated. So we got that 90K, and we had a good pitch deck, so we thought maybe we're going to get people interested. Not so much. We applied for 4 different fundings in France. We didn't get a single one. No's every single time. We tried television in France. We already had sold some films to TV in France. We tried a pre-sale, which is usually a little bit more money and would be good. TV said no. We tried other sponsorships, private. Didn't get a single one. So our French co-producer, Michael Proença from Wildstream, he actually said, I'll put some of my money into the film. And he got us the team that did we developed for like 2 months, month and a half, the pipeline for the finalization, the painting, and it actually helped a lot because we had 3 months scheduled for the finalization of the film, and we ended up doing in 2 months because everything was really well established. So yeah, we put a few more expenses from our own production company to justify the full amount that we need to, but at the end the film was fairly cheaper than expected, and it's been doing really well since. Sales and awards alone, I think right now we've made more than what we got originally. So it helped a lot, for instance, in the campaign and stuff like that. When we originally didn't have any money for the pre-campaign for the Oscars, João and we decided to invest some of our own money in that. But it was a challenge, and we were learning, and we made some mistakes, but we did our best.
Can you tell us maybe a little bit more about campaign and how expensive it is?
Well, to campaign for something like the Oscars without having any experience, and I've decided to contact some friends and try to get some feedback on how to do it. All the answers we got were very different from each other. So it varies a lot. A lot of people campaign with no money, no backup from their countries. And then you see that how good the film is, and you're really sad that the film could have went a lot further. So we decided to get somebody that knew what he was doing. In this case, Benoit Seward from the Animation Showcase. He's a super nice guy. He's a good friend. We love him to bits, and he helped us in a way that we were not expecting. It was not a business that we were getting into, or we're not doing business. He actually loves all the films that he gets under his wing, and he was like, "Oh, I don't have any more slots, but I really love your film. Like all the films that I have on my wing right now, under my wing right now, and I'm going to do the best I can, like I do to every films, even though I know you guys have no money." So we still pay them, but we said, okay, we'll pay you now for this part. We don't know if we'll have money for the next part, and then we'll figure it out. Like a good producer, you always say, we'll see how it happens. We'll make the best of it. And then we got to a situation where we never expected, which is we got nominated, and we're like, oh, now we have to do a campaign, so we need more money. I remember I was in Clermont-Ferrand, and I was waking up 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, sending emails like crazy. I was sleeping, I was stressed, I was sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a night because we couldn't get any funds in, sending emails to everybody, or either the answers were no or no answers at all, which is even worse. And by the end of 2 weeks, I did something that I never thought I'd do in my life, which is we've had a call from the Minister of Culture in Portugal congratulating us on the day. And I was like, I don't care, I'm going to call him. And I called on the phone. Oh, sorry, just letting you know that we're in a dire situation, and maybe we're going to ask our parents for money to go to the ceremony, but we're not going to do any campaign. And he was like, what do you mean? I'll call you tomorrow. And then all the contacts that I done previously started getting back to us, and things unblocked, and some stuff we're still dealing with the paperwork. This was in April, and we're still delivering stuff and signing papers, but it's a long. But at the end, if it wasn't for these financial assistance and help, and once you get to know the people, there was a actual real will to help us and to get us as further as possible. You start feeling that it might be possible. At least we have a chance. That's what we thought. Small chance. Fighting the Apple giant was very complicated. And when you're in LA, and we were like, yeah, let's try to see if we can get a billboard, because we see billboards. How much would the billboard cost? 2 weeks, $50,000. We're like, no, we're not getting a billboard. And then you're walking on LA. It was the only two people. Oh, every time we would go anywhere, we see billboards of the boy, the fox, the mole, and the horse. Everywhere. Besides the buses, on the bus stops, on the billboards, on our ads, on the computer. And we were like, yeah, we're never going to have a chance. And yeah, but that was a little intimidated. A little David versus Goliath kind of thing.
Mielgo the year before had a billboard in LA.
Hey, so you've gone through this experience. The film is clearly a wonderful piece of work. I'm just wondering, because you've produced other amazing films in Cola, do you get a feeling of why this broke through in this way? Do you feel there is an answer to that? How does that happen?
For instance, we released in a matter of 2 months 3 films. We released Ice Merchants, Slow Light from Kijek Adamski, I don't know how to pronounce the name very well, Przemek and Kasia from Poland, and actually a film that we met the director here. Alla already met her, and João already knew her, yeah, Sofia Alchiari. And we actually started talking about the possibility of co-production while having drinks in Sirius. And those 3 films that we released in a matter of 2 months did really well. But to be honest, and we talked about it, João worked in Slow Light, for instance. He animated some sequences. And at Cola, we were all like, well, we love Slow Light, we love L'Ombre des Papillons, but we thought Slow Light would be our top dog in 2022 race. We actually thought it would do well. And it's been doing really well, can't complain. Beautiful film, we love the film to bits. But we were expecting Ice Merchants to not perform as well. So, like I said, there was a surprise. As soon as when we sent the film out via our distributor, and in a matter of 3 days, we had Cannes, Melbourne, and Guadalajara. We were like, what's going on? And then we went to Cannes, and we already had a few more selections. Not many, because at first it's always slow. And you get, maybe it was a fluke, maybe it's not going to go. But then we get a warning at Cannes, and we're like, I remember sitting next to João, and we were actually watching the film on the big screen for the first time, and people were emotional. You could see people, 2 rows behind, there was a woman that was crying a lot in the film. And we were like, yeah, this is the feeling that João wanted to portray is coming through. So it's people that aren't in the industry, and I never take things that are said like this in a bad way, because people just aren't familiar with our world. Sometimes they say, oh, you got a film nominated for the Oscars, so now you know the recipe, and now you're going to work the same way, and you're going to do a new film. And it doesn't work like that. You never know how your film is going to perform. Never. Sometimes you think, it's going to be a simple film, and then the film does really well, or I really think this film will go somewhere, and then it doesn't have the many selections as you expect. So there's no recipe. It's a matter of factors that will bring luck or fortune to the fact that how the film goes. But it's all good. We can't complain.
And yeah, I think I want to add, I completely agree, there's no recipe. And I think if you do a film trying to break the recipe to get your film nominated for an Oscar or something, that will show up in the film, and the film will not be genuine. So I think we are trying to step away as much as possible from this, because we had questions now, what's next, and I think we feel some external pressure in a way, but we're trying to get away of it and just have fun doing films, because that's what we wanted to do since the beginning, and hope that doesn't change that. And at least I think it's not going to change, I hope so.
Well, thank you guys very much. This was awesome. We're going to take a 5-minute break.
At 6:15.
5-minute break.